Okay. Thank you, bro. So today we have three shlokas, 8.11 and 12 and 13. So Yad aksharam veda vido vadanti vishyanti yad yatayo vitaragaha yad ichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshay. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. So, they mentioned some things, um, qualification or requirements, um, who can enter into Brahman, and which is considered here as a level of perfection. And what are the things one has to do to qualify? And so further, we'll get the detail about this process by which one can attain salvation. So next one is सर्वद्वारणी संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धनि अध्यात्मनः प्राणम् अस्थितो योगाधारणम्. Translation: the yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. So this is like when you are practicing it, this yogic, what all you will experience, kind of like milestones or steps, what activities you would be doing. Although it's like no activities, but this is what you would be doing. So that is the state mentioned here. 8.13. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran ya prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. Translation: after being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. So this is how it is. And so let's see the detail. So in the previous shloka, it was Priyana Kale Manasa Chalena, 8.10. So one who at the time of death fixes his life here between the eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the method which was explained, um, fixing the life here. So whatever a practitioner does for perfection throughout one's life, so that at the time of one's death, it will be tested. So this is like one is practicing throughout his life. This is not like last minute, like many people say, I'll do it in the last minute. Right now, I'll enjoy, and why bother now? Maybe in old age, I'll do it. So when we don't know when it is time of our death, so we need to practice it throughout our life. And perfection, if we have achieved perfection, that will be tested at the time of death. And so Srila Prabhupada says that in Bhagavad-gītā, here Bhagavad-gītā is describing what should we do at the point of time of our death when we are giving up this present body. Um, so yeah, so a little bit. So persons who are learned in Vedas, they utter Omkara, and the conditions mentioned there. So this is what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, the Shat Chakra system, the 6 chakras, in which one places the life here between the eyebrows and the steps. So we know that there are 3 levels of realization of the absolute truth. There is Brahman realization, Brahma Jyoti feature, and there is this is impersonal realization, um, and there is Paramatma realization, next level, which is realizing localized Paramatma, which is has in the heart, who is localized, who is seated in our heart locally, and there is full realization, which is Bhagwan realization, the Supreme Personality of God, Lord Krishna. So this is how it is. And so here, this is particularly initially being spoken of dhyana yoga, which is how actually the impersonalist would practice it. And so in chapter 6, there was more detail to this dhyana yoga. So, so this Omkara, uttering Omkara, pronouncing this is for impersonalists, the syllable Om, which is identical with Brahman. Brahman is that indivisible, eternal, ever-existing entity, right? So, and there is Parabrahman, which is Supreme Brahman, which is used only for Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are like qualitatively same as Lord, but quantitatively we are infinitesimal. That we need to remember. So Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman, into which the renowned sort of sages enter. So like that. So they'll be, so what they have to do, they have to practice brahmacharya, celibacy, and but Lord Krishna has given Hare Krishna Mahamantra in this age of Kali. So because in this age, this system, this present moment, this present age, it is very difficult to practice any other system which was mentioned earlier for the previous yugas. Like they had very long duration of life, things were much pure and body was different and things like that. But right now it's very bad. So mercy of the Lord, He has given us this holy name. So we can chant that. So let's get into detail. So for the yogis, dhyana yogis, this prescription is recited here. So Sarva Dwarani in the technical Prabhupada says that the technical language of yogic system, it is called pratyahara. So there are various steps. So pratyahara is one, which means just the opposite. Now the senses, for example, say eyes, they are engaged in seeing the beauty of this worldly objects. Now this is very simply said, but we are engaged in so many ways. We are engaged using our senses, especially the sense of eye. These eyes we are engaged. We are seeing mobile phones, YouTube, or watching cinema and all that. So that's things like that. So we are engaged in seeing the beauty of the worldly objects, right? So now I have to withdraw, retract from enjoying that external beauty. Instead, now we have to focus inwards and see the internal beauty. This is called pratyahara. So this is one of the steps. So similarly, you have to hear the Omkara sound from within, right? You might be uttering Omkara, and just like we say, chant and hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is like saying Omkara, and then finally you can hear the sound from inside. So all the senses are to be stopped in their external activities. That is the perfection of yoga, and concentrate the mind on Vishnu Murti, the Paramatma within. So Mano Hridi Nirudhya. Mano Hridi, the mind is very agitating, so it has to be fixed up on the heart. Nirudhya means just arresting the mind within the heart. Murdhni Adhyatmanaha Pranam Astita Yoga Dharanam. So Srila Prabhupada says that in this way, when we transfer the life here on the top of our head, that is perfection of yoga. And then a perfect yogi fixes up where he shall go. So once he has achieved this level, perfection of yoga, that he has transferred the life here on the top of his head, then he can choose where he wants to go next. So he fixes up where he shall go. So there are innumerable planets within this universe. So we are still talking within the universe. And beyond these planets, there is a spiritual world. So yogis, they have realized this information from the scriptures, Vedic literature. For example, if a person is traveling to another country, he or she can get information, detail about these places he's traveling by referring to travel guide or manuals which are available. So similarly, yogis can have all this description of the higher planets and the spiritual world from the scriptures. The scriptures have all these details. The yogi knows everything and he can transfer himself to any planet he likes. So he does not require the space shuttle, which in the present moment the countries are struggling to do. There is a race to travel to space and have a space station there and be settled there. So that is actually not the prescribed process to reach another planet. The general process is if you want to have any other better higher planet, then you have to practice the yoga system, or jnana system, not bhakti system. Bhakti system is for spiritual world, for the Vaikuntha planets, spiritual abode of the Lord, Krishna Loka. So this Bhakti Yoga system is not meant for any material planet as next destination. So because those who are in devotional service of Lord Krishna or Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are not interested in any material planet, material world. Why? Because they know the fact that in higher material planets, you can elevate yourself to, you can go there, but the four principles of material existence are there. What are those? Birth, death, disease, old age, which is misery, suffering. So although higher planets offer all these long duration of life better than Earth, the death is certain in those material planets. The duration of life can be long there, but suffering is there. So material life means birth, death, disease, and old age. Whereas spiritual life or life of Krishna consciousness means relief from all this trouble, no birth, death, ignorance, and misery. So the spiritual life is full of perfection. So those who are intelligent, they don't try to elevate to any material planet within this universe. So if you enter into higher planets by the yoga system, then you get a suitable body of that planet. So for each planet, like we discussed earlier in one of the previous shlokas, so you get a suitable body for that particular planet. For example, sun planet, you get that body. For moon planet, you have another body. So like that. So particular body for those planets suitable because that's suitable. So so that is why a yogi would have to prepare himself, practice yoga, and achieve perfection throughout his life. He will practice, and then finally he will achieve perfection, and it will be tested at the moment of death. So to get that particular type of body, he will be doing all that. So if anyone wants to enter moon planet by the yoga process, he transfers his soul, transmigration to the moon planet, and he will get long duration of life, and he'll get a body suitable for. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example. In higher planets, are 6 months is equal to 1 day. So they have very long duration of life, and this is mentioned in the scriptures. So, but there is death, there is suffering. Those four sufferings we mentioned earlier. The conditions can be very good, but still suffering, four sufferings are there. So, as mentioned in the beginning of Bhagavad-gītā, the Atma, the soul, is not subjected to death. The gross body, we say we are leaving this gross body and then take new body. So that is what we call that. But the soul never dies. So for the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor so na hanyate hanyamane sharire. 2.20 Bhagavad-gītā. For the soul, there is never death, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So we, the spirit soul, we are eternal. So why? So then a person might ask, why should I subject myself to this birth and death? Like when we are saying yogi practices and he goes to higher planets, takes another body suitable for that. But this is a material planet, so he gets the material body, all the suitable for that higher life. But still, it's material. It's in the material world. So asking such questions, Prabhupada says, this is intelligence. Krishna ye bhaje se bada chatura. So those who are persons in Krishna consciousness, they are very intelligent. They are not interested to get promotion in any planet where there is death. Never mind the long duration of life it offers. Not interested. They want what they want. They want just like God. So qualitatively we are same, whereas qualitatively we are same. Quantitatively we are very infinitesimal, tiny. So Satchitananda Vigraha, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. So in 5.1 of Brahma Samhita, there is detail. Brahmaji is glorifying Lord Krishna. He's saying, Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful body, spiritual body. He's the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he's the prime cause of all causes. So God's body is Satchitananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, Ananda, full of pleasure. So we are also eternal. The Atma is eternal, full of knowledge and full of pleasure, but we are infinitesimal because we are part and parcel of the Lord, just part and parcel of the Lord. We are infinitesimal, but qualitatively we are same. So that is how it is. So similarly, we transfer a body ourselves, leaving this present material body to the spiritual world in the Krishna planet. or any other spiritual planet, Vaikuntha planet, then we get a similar body, Satchitananda Vigraha, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But we are part and parcel of the Lord, so we are qualitatively same, quantitatively we are infinitesimal, very tiny, very minute. So those who are trying to be in Krishna consciousness, their aim of life is different from those who are trying to promote themselves to any other better planet, the other yogis we were talking about. So in this material world. So here, Lord Krishna says that Burdhani Adaya Atmana Pranam Astito Yoga Dharanam. This is called the perfection of yoga. So we are very minute within the body, within this body, so minute that we cannot see with our material vision. But I am spirit soul, atomic. And my position is that I have taken a material body, but this is external. So atom is sustaining in the pranavayu. And the yoga system, Shat Chakra system, is to get the soul from down to the top, tip of the topmost part of the head. This practice goes on while we are living, and the perfection is that when we can place Atma, ourself, Atma, on the top of the head, and Srila Prabhupada gives further detail, and time of perfection, by fraction of this topmost head, we can transfer into the higher planetary system as we like, of our choice. So that is perfection, yogic perfection we were talking about this. So yogi can transfer in either of the planets where he likes. He can travel, just like people travel from one country to another. They can transfer to higher planetary system. So Krishna conscious person, they are not interested in these temporary planets. So for the yogi, the process is how to give up this body. So perfection we spoke of, at the time of death, it will be tested. So that is how it is. And so there are different kinds of transcendentalists who are called yogi. Jnana yogi, dhyana yogi, bhakti yogi. All the yogi, they are eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The yoga system is meant for linking our connection. We are eternally connected with the Supreme Lord. Somehow or other, we are now in material contamination. We have a material body. The process is that we have to go back home, back to Bharat. So that linking process is called yoga. So the actual translation, yoga, the actual translation, Srila Prabhupada gives detail, means yoga means plus. Plus is just the opposite of minus. So at the present moment, we are minus God, Supreme. We are minus God or minus Supreme. So when we make ourselves plus, connect, then our human form of life is perfect. So at the time of death, we have to finish or complete that perfection. So as long as we are alive, we have to practice how to approach that point of perfection, and how to approach that point of perfection at the time of death. When we give up this material body, that perfection has to be realized, and that is what is called final test. So next we have at the time of death, point of death, if we can pronounce Om in context of this particular yogic process we were talking about for the impersonalist, pronounce Om, which is the concise form of transcendental vibration, Omkara. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mam anusmaran. If we can vibrate this sound Omkara at that same time, mam anusmaran, plus he remembers Krishna or Vishnu, the whole yoga system is to concentrate his mind to Lord Vishnu, on Lord Vishnu. But the impersonalists imagine, either they just imagine the form of the Lord, form of Lord Vishnu. They impersonally they just imagine, or they are thinking of Brahma Jyoti or the light of the Lord. So, but those who are personalists, they do not imagine. They see the actual form of the Supreme Lord. They realize it in their heart. So now, so either you concentrate your mind like imagination, or you see factually. Srila Prabhupada gives these details. So you have to concentrate your mind on the Vishnu form, whether you imagine it or you actually see it, realize it within the heart. Here, Mam means unto the Supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu. Ya Prayati, anyone who leaves this body. Tyajan Deham, after quitting this body. Sa Yati Paramam Gatim, he enters into the spiritual kingdom. Those who are actually yogi, they do not desire to enter any other material planet because they know that these are temporary planets, which means temporary life, and they are not interested. And Srila Prabhupada says that this is intelligence. In Bhagavad-gītā 7.23, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpa medasham. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, But my devotees, Lord Krishna is saying, ultimately reach my supreme planet. Those who are satisfied with temporary happiness, temporary life, temporary facilities, they are not intelligent. Because Lord Krishna says that because I'm permanent, I'm eternal. So, an intelligent person would realize that because I'm permanent, I'm eternal. Why shall I be interested in non-permanent things? This is intelligence. Who wants non-permanent existence? Nobody wants. An intelligent person definitely doesn't want impermanent existence. Because we are permanent, so we want permanent residence. That is our inclination. We don't wish to die, but take birth, die again, so and so and so on. And sometimes suffer, sometimes enjoy. That is duality. Why not be in permanent state in the spiritual abode of the Lord? So that is intelligence. So these are external things, artificial, but disease, death, birth, miseries. So sometimes Prabhupada gives an example. Sometimes we suffer from fever. Um, yeah, but we are not meant for suffering from fever because we are eternal. But because having taken this material body and because of karma and desires, we sometimes suffer because of sin. But sometimes it comes even if we don't want. So we have to take precaution. We have to get out of this condition. So similarly, these four kinds of external afflictions, birth, death, disease, old age, they are due to the material body. And we can get out of this material body, then we can get out of these implications. So for yogi, those who are impersonalist, this process is recommended. And what is that? Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan. Just vibrating this transcendental sound, Om, and leave this body at the time. So this is for impersonalist. So ya prayati, anyone who is able to quit this material body in these circumstances simply by uttering this transcendental sound Om with full consciousness of the Supreme Lord, then he is sure to be transferred to transmigrate to the spiritual world. So that is how it is. So, but those who are not personalists, they cannot enter into the spiritual planet. They remain outside. That is Brahma Jyoti, right? So similarly, those who are transferred in the spiritual world, they remain in the effulgence of the Lord, which is Brahma Jyoti. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example how this is. This is like those who are not personalists, they cannot enter into the spiritual planet. They remain outside, just like the sunshine and the sun disk. The sunshine is not different from the sun disk, but still the sunshine is not the sun disk. So similarly, like that, so Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, but still they're not entering into the um, Vaikuntha planet or Goluka. They are saying they are outside because personalists would get to enter at that when they achieve perfection, but not the impersonalists. So those who are not personalists, they are placed into the Brahma Jyoti as one of the minute particles. We are minute particles, spiritual spark, and Brahma Jyoti is full of spiritual spark. Prabhupada gives this detail. Um, uh, so so minute, we are minute particles, spiritual spark, and Brahma Jyoti is full of spiritual sparks. So we become one of the spiritual sparks. Those who reach there, desire to reach, if they reach, this is how it is, their state. That is, they merge into the spiritual existence. So if you become one of the spiritual spark, you merge into the spiritual existence. Although you keep your individuality constitutionally, but because you don't want any personal form, this is your choice. You chose it. Therefore, you are held there in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So just like the sunshine comprises of small shining molecules, molecular atomic sunshine. This is what sunshine comprises of. But we are very atomic. So less than atom, 1/10,000 portion of the tip of the hair, that is our position. So that small part remains within the Brahma Jyoti as if mixed up or homogeneous, because there are other similar impersonalists who are, now part of that Brahma Jyoti effulgence. So, but the problem, Srila Prabhupada gives detail, as living entity, we are active and we want enjoyment because I am not only simply existence, I have got bliss. So, Sachit Ananda, three things we mentioned, right? I'm composed of three spiritual existence. I'm eternal, I'm full of knowledge, and I'm full of bliss. Because now I'm not only simply existence, I've got bliss. This is our nature, right? Constitutional position. So those who enter into the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord, they can remain there eternally and with full knowledge. These two things are there, eternally, full knowledge. Now I'm mixed up, and it looks like it's homogeneous because all the spiritual parts are there, atomic souls. So now homogeneous within the Brahman. This is how it looks like. But they cannot have the third part, eternal bliss, because that part is wanting. You chose to be like this and with those two things. This is how it is. So the difficulty is that when he feels just like a person is in a room and he can be there for long, maybe a day, he can be confined, he can be there for hours or reading book, immersed in that. But there'll be a point when you are bored or you feel like having exchanging some, with other people. So it's like long duration of life. You can imagine you are there in a room for a very long duration, but you cannot be in that state for very long because you're active, right? This is you are full of bliss. You want to have some exchanges. You want to associate, have some recreation. That is our nature. So similarly, if we merge into that impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord, then there is a chance of falling down again into this material world. There is more detail to it. So Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32 gives these details. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? So in answer to this, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, all the non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated. Their intelligence is impure. They fall down from the position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So Prabhupada gives detail, just like astronauts, they can be in spaceship, hanging in space, but if they cannot take rest in some planet, they can fall down. So we know that spaceships can hang, but they depend on fuel. And if it's just floating, it will hang. I mean, or they're trying to build stations. So there has to be some kind of rest, right, required. So in the impersonal form, the rest is uncertain. Therefore, in Bhagavad-gītā, it is said that Aruya Krishrena Param Padam Tata, even after so much endeavor, if he gets into the spiritual one and remains in that impersonal form, the risk is that Patanti Adaha, he comes down again into this material world. Why? Andar Anadrita Yusmat Angraya, because he has neglected to serve in love and devotion to the Supreme Lord. So long we are here, we have to practice to love Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Then we can enter. This is the training. So with impersonal endeavor, even if we enter into Brahma Jyoti, there is a risk of falling down again. For the spiritual spark, the atomic soul can be there for a very long duration of time. But one day, it will be like that. He has to come back to this material world. This is a possibility. Because the nature of our constitutional position is that we are such at Ananda Vigraha. We are eternally servant of the Lord and we have to engage in the service. Else we will not find bliss. And not finding that bliss, and if its soul is in the Brahma Jyoti, he can be there for a very, very long duration of life, beyond our imagination. But there will be a point when he will feel, because soul is active, that he can enjoy bliss only when he serves the Lord. So that is how it is. And then he will have to come to this material world and take life again, take birth again, and then try again the same process. So this is not intelligence. So the best thing is to train ourselves in Krishna consciousness, and then it will be possible in this life at the time of death to transfer ourselves to the spiritual world and enter into the Krishna Loka or the Krishna planet and enjoy the association of Krishna. So that is how it is. And so like mentioned earlier, there's more detail to the Goloka, the activities which are there, how the life is there, how the houses are there. So Brahmaji has given this detail in Brahma Samhita, where he's glorifying the Lord. He's giving all this description, how it is, how life is there. And so those who are concerned to have a spiritual life, complete a full bliss, full of knowledge, eternity, that is possible when you enter the spiritual planet. And like mentioned earlier, Lord Chaitanya has given an easy process for Kali Yuga. He is saying, because in Kali Yuga, life is deteriorated, the condition is very tough, very difficult to focus our mind, and there is no long duration of life, there is no peace. So better to take to Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga. And he's saying in this age of Kali, he is giving a mercy of his holy name, which is non-different from the Lord. And he's saying us to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Lord Krishna, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself. And he's here, his mercy personified, and he's giving his mercy in the form of his name. So all we have to do is just take to it, and this is the easy process, and again given by the Lord. So we just take to this life, and this is the answer to all our problems in this life. So thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sri Hari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.